Hello everyone, my brothers. Today I urgently need to tell you that Moscow Polytechnic University, MAMI, has published a statement that can be considered a response to numerous, including critical, reviews from internet users about the previously presented amber electric car with a testing sign on its front bumper. The developers stated that the photos did not show a finished car, but only a universal platform for components. Meanwhile, the original news about the car's development has disappeared from the university's website. Autonews.ru collected information about what exactly the creators of the electric car showed, what it will become, and when it will go into series production. What MAMI presented on December 18th has nothing to do with the appearance of the finished car. It is only a so-called mule, a running prototype on which the main components and assemblies are tested. Typically, the body for such a mule is borrowed from an already existing car. However, Russia does not produce cars of such a small class. Probably for this reason, the creators of the mule were forced to make it themselves from what was available, using some parts from the lot of Zetta but assembling them in noticeably smaller dimensions. This may explain the strange proportions of the resulting car. The actual design of the car is still being worked on, and its body is simply not ready. However, testing needs to be done now, which is why the mule was needed. If the production car has anything in common with this platform, it will likely only be similar dimensions. Plans to produce a compact electric car at Avtotor became known back in December 2022. Since then, the model has been in development, and the first camouflaged prototypes at the plant were seen and photographed by a correspondent in the summer of 2023. Initially, the car was supposed to be called Yanter, but later the company patented the name Amber. It will be a compact urban electric car, primarily intended for car sharing and delivery services. Production of the car was planned to start as early as 2023, but now MAMI promises that the first 5 test cars will be made in 2024. With serial production beginning in 2025. The car will be based on a space frame welded from aluminum profiles. Plastic body panels will be attached to it from the outside. A similar technology was used in smart cars, although their load-bearing frame was steel. This method reduces the cost of launching a new model into production but is considered unsuitable for mass production. In the case of the Amber, the planned volumes are relatively small, up to 50,000 cars per year. At the same time, the electric cars are planned to be as localized as possible. In particular, they will receive domestic electric motors and traction batteries. For the production of the latter, a factory is already being built in Kaliningrad by the company Renera, which is part of Rosatom. Strictly speaking, the Amber is not a car. It is a so-called quadricycle, which, according to current Russian Customs Union regulations, and not only, belongs to the L7 category. For such vehicles, there are restrictions on weight and maximum power. The motor cannot produce more than 21 horsepower, and the maximum weight of the empty car should not exceed 400 kilograms for passenger versions and 550 kilograms for cargo versions. It is important to note that for electric cars, the battery weight is not counted, and it is precisely this that determines the range. In many countries around the world, there are relaxations for driving L7 quadricycles. For example, driver's licenses for them can be obtained at an earlier age than for full-fledged cars. In Russia, driving an L7 class vehicle is permitted for drivers with a B1 license. However, this B1 category provides no legal advantages. It is automatically granted when obtaining a Category B license, that is, a driver's license for passenger cars. Theoretically, it is possible to obtain a B1 driver's license separately from a B license, but there is no practical sense in this, as the requirements for future drivers do not differ, and there is no point in taking a separate exam for B1 if obtaining a Category B license simultaneously grants the subcategory. It can be assumed that the choice in favor of the L7 class was made because such electric vehicles are popular in China, where there are many component suppliers for them. Thus, until deep localization of the amber is achieved in Russia, some components can be purchased in China. At the current stage of the project, its developers are not disclosing the cost of the car. One can refer to prices for similar equipment in China, where it is sold literally on marketplaces. The cost of the simplest electric quadricycles in China starts at less than $1,000. That is, less than $1,070 for a new vehicle with 4 wheels, a frame made of iron pipes, plastic body panels, a small battery that drains quickly, and a weak motor. More advanced models cost around $5,000, and this is more like what Avtotor plans to produce. At the same time, the price does not go higher, as this is where the cost of the Wuling Mini EV electric car begins, which, although similar to the L7, formally belongs to cars and competes with Tesla for the title of the best-selling electric car in China. The Wuling brand is a product of a joint venture between General Motors and the largest Chinese automaker SAIC. For comparison, according to autonews.ru, back in 2022, one Wuling Mini EV in the top configuration was imported to Russia at a customer's request. Including delivery costs, customs duties, taxes, and dealer fees, the car cost the customer $19,034. Several years ago, a local startup in Tolyatti was preparing to produce Zetta electric cars of the same L7 class. Moreover, 5 working prototypes were even built, but at this point, the received investments ran out, and it was not possible to attract new ones. In design, the Zetta was similar to the Amber but with some differences. The car had a steel body frame but individual wheel motors, making it all-wheel drive. The car was equipped with a 10 kWh battery, and the creators claimed that this would be enough for 180 kilometers of range. This statement sounded somewhat optimistic, considering that the compact Mitsubishi i-MiEV electric cars with a battery almost twice as large barely managed 150 kilometers on a single charge. According to the plans of the Zetta's creators, their car was supposed to cost about the same as a Lada Granta, around $11,896 at current prices. In 2022, it became known that funding for the project could not be found. Thank you all for watching, brothers. Please subscribe to my channel and give it a like.